All right, time to bring in some other voices, joined now by Kevin Luthringer and Jim Harris. And guys, Kevin, I'll start with you. Third loss in a row. It's turned into a full-on losing streak. Have you lost confidence in this program?
I feel like we're at a turning point with the Razorbacks this year. There's a lot of questions being thrown out there that they seem a little undisciplined at times. They seem like there's at times where they're getting out-coached. I don't know if I've lost complete faith in the program and where we're heading. It just 3 losses in a row, and we're in the SEC West. I mean, 1 loss turns into 2, 3, and all of a sudden you have a losing season. So,
no, I think Arkansas faced a situation last year. Some different teams involved, losing to Ole Miss, Auburn, and Georgia in a row last year, but bouncing back, winning 5 of the last 6. They're still in a position they can win 5 of the last 6, or they could maybe win all 6. We don't know yet, but some of the problems you cite have to be corrected. I don't see a lot of senior leadership with this team, and I thought that was maybe what was missing today. It's been missing in the last 2 losses as well. So some of that's got to be corrected. We'll see if things change on this trip to BYU. I think that tells the story of the rest of the season. If they can go out there, and it will be an upset if they win, upset BYU, then to Auburn, and then finally get that, that open date that Coach Pittman wants so bad.
You bring up some of the senior leadership in coaching with these slow starts we've been seeing now, the back-to-back weeks of just 21, 28, 0 holes. Is that a coaching thing, do you think, or is that more of a senior leadership? What's the?
I don't think in the last 2 weeks. I think it's been talent. I think the reason they were behind against Alabama and today was just the significant talent. Both the talent losses we've seen on defense. They have had injuries. I can hear a lot of people don't want to keep making that as an excuse, but when you lose the 2 most talented people on your back line, and you lost a pretty good player at defensive tackle before the season started in Terrene Carter, and then you really just didn't recruit and replace guys like John Ridgway and Trey Williams, you see what you have on there. I mean, they've got similar talent to a lot of teams. They don't have any real difference makers. Drew Sanders might be the one guy defensively that can, but he can't do it all, and teams scheme away from him anyway.
All right, the big story going into today was KJ Jefferson. Would the Arkansas quarterback be able to play? He dressed out, he warmed up, and then Cade Fortin got the first snaps, Malik Hornsby from there. Jim, we'll start with you. Coach Pittman said that Cade Fortin won the starting job in practice over Malik. From what you saw, was that surprising?
No, and that's what I had heard. I have a source that sort of let me know. I'm not supposed to even tell you I have that source. It's supposed to be top secret up there, but I did hear that Cade Fortin looked best in practice. And if you look at one play today, I can almost see why that's true. When Arkansas ran a play on the 2 or the 1 yard line, and Hornsby throws it 10 yards over Green, a wide open receiver that would have been 6 points, you can see what they may have worried about. Hornsby doesn't handle the ball and handle the mesh points all that well. That's why you and I talked about this afternoon, that we thought that maybe he isn't given the opportunity always to read. It's either a give or a design keep because of the fumbles that they have in practice. Cade Fortin's not going to do that because he's not a real threat to run. KJ was only out there for a decoy anyway in warm-ups, and they knew Thursday that he wasn't going to play. But unfortunately, under the lights today, if you want to theoretically say that, Fortin didn't rise to the occasion. His first pass was 20 yards over Trey Knox's head, and he looked wide-eyed during the headlights.
You heard Sam say that in the postgame, where maybe Malik's just more of a gamer because he showed some. But the throws, that one you mentioned at the goal line, overthrew him by a mile, and then the Hazelwood touchdown, there should have been a touchdown to Hazelwood where he underthrew him.
Sure, he made throws that were incredible.
That one 54-yard touchdown was a beautiful throw. So you said this earlier in the week, you never know with Malik. Some of these throws are great, some are not. But just the athleticism he brought, the explosiveness, the offense definitely changed when he came in.
You know, don't forget, he hasn't really gotten a lot of quarterback snaps for 8 weeks. They've used him as a wide receiver a lot. He hasn't even been designated as the backup. So it's a lot different to come out here and finally get told, okay, you're back to quarterback for good. Now learn the the quarterback game like we need you to. But he's a gamer. That you said that right.
Yeah.
And I think you can count on him if KJ can't go down the stretch at some point.
Well, and I think the hope was they said Cade controls the ball a little more. He's not going to turn the ball over. They were hoping to be able to run the ball, maybe have a lead. You go down 21-0. You can't really just control it anymore.
Boy,
you need explosive plays.
That showed you how much, though, that a running quarterback like KJ or Malik means to their other running attack. They got a ton of rushing yards today, really, and they got a lot of first down yardage. Their first down yardage efficiency was like 9.5 yards a pickup on first down. I mean, that tells you that with Malik, or when they have KJ, that it opens up things for Rocket Sanders and those other guys at running back.
On the flip side, other side of the ball, Barry Odom kind of hung his hat on the Mississippi State games last couple of years, was able to kind of just rush 3, drop 8 most of the time, and contain them, that air raid for the most part. He tried the same thing today, and it didn't work. Just what was the difference, Gavin?
I would say at the times, and you mentioned this before with Trey Williams, they were able to rush 3 but still get some sort of pressure. Will Rogers sitting back there with all types of time, and he's a 3-year starter now. He's not going to make the bad throws. He's going to take what the defense gives. And then I thought Mike Leach and Mississippi State were just fine with running against these light boxes. And at some point, I think Barry Odom's a good defensive coordinator. At some point, you got to deviate from the game plan and start rushing a little more and blitz the quarterback. I just think if you're not getting pressure with 3 at all, you're not expecting to get pressure, but you can't I think you actually tweeted this at one point on earlier today. If you give a guy 10 seconds to throw,
bring up my Twitter right now.
Sure. If you give a guy 8 seconds, 10 seconds to throw, you're gonna find it. You can't cover for that long. And
you
our
can
back
put
line's
10
already
or
had
11 guys back there, but he's going to find somebody. But the first 2 wins that Odom had against Leach, Leach didn't have a real running game. His top running back 2 years ago, outstanding running back, got hurt early in the game, and they were just throwing, and that wasn't a very good quarterback. That's not Will Rogers. And he threw 4 balls right to guys, like to Greg Brooks that was taken back for a pick 6. Today there were 4 balls that people talk about Arkansas got their hands on, but 2 of those would have been tough catches for our guys, much less them. And there were 2 that would have stopped drives that we didn't hold. So I think the difference is Leach had this game circled. Texas A&M tried a 3-man rush last week too. He's got it figured out. He's got in the SEC. He's got to have a running game, and he does. And that's why Arkansas wasn't able to do the same things they did the first 2 times they won.
Well, I think Barry Odom's probably hoping some of those you catch 1 or 2, because today we dropped, I think it was 3 or 4 interceptions. They would have been tough interceptions.
Yeah, they would.
But I think Barry Odom's just hoping you get 1 or 2. You're not getting all
stop
of them.
a drive. And Arkansas stopped a few drives on their own without interceptions, but they needed to stop a few with picks. They needed to turn the ball over. Instead, we turned it over twice, and Mississippi State had no turnovers.
And it seems like we've been talking about it for 3 weeks now. Missed opportunities on those dropped interceptions.
We've also been talking for a few weeks now about coaching. Once again, a game where you could definitely question, if not the calls to go for things, then the play calls once you did. And like we talked about just now, Barry Odom and the lack of flexibility in the defensive game plan. Do you lay any of this blame at the feet of the coordinators or Sam Pittman? Yeah.
Now, most of it I lay on the blame of the coaching staff as far as being able to recruit and to bring in talent this year, especially to offset the losses. They did not replace John Ridgway or Trey Williams on defense. The linebackers really, against the run this year, aren't as good as the ones last year. Believe it or not, I mean, you look at the stats, Hayden Henry and Grant Morgan were better against a running game and could stunt better than the linebackers this year. Love Drew Sanders. He does some great things. He's great off the rush when they can get him in the position, but they're not as good against the running game. And then all these injuries on the back line. I mean, they just haven't got enough numbers to help Odom out on that back side. We play one of the most simplest zones, but you know, they can't react quick enough. How many balls did you see right off the line of scrimmage that number 8 for Arkansas, the strong safety, just had no reaction to even drop into that coverage area, and they kind of just ate that alive. They could do pretty much what they wanted most of the game.
I do think it's the quiet part that people don't want to say out loud, and I'm not questioning saying Sam Pittman should be on the hot seat by any stretch, but you have this game where you start out with in the first 3 plays, you have 2 penalties, you kick out of bounds, and then you go offsides, and then you have just all these games. The Cincinnati game, they went up 7-0, but that wouldn't have been with 2 missed field goals and a fumble by Cincinnati. Then Missouri State jumps out to a lead. Mississippi State jumps out to a lead. Alabama.
What'd you think of Briles then? We kind of talk about Odom, but what about?
Briles has it. I think I said this earlier in the week, but Briles, it's about 80% of the time I really like what Briles does. He just has some things that are real head scratchers where I don't understand his decision making on the play actions, and then I do think there's some questions in the coaching staff.
I thought personnel situations surprised me a few times, but considering Malik having to play, I kind of throw this one away as like they did what they could try to do with that, but not punching it in twice from inside the 5-yard line. That would have made it a ball game.
Well, and to go on your personnel thing, there was one of those 4th and shorts where Arkansas has done this successfully, where they put Rocket at tailback and they do the trap play to another guy, use Rocket as kind of a decoy.
Yeah.
Then they switch it and put him there. You know the defense is keying on 5. They're looking for 5, and that's where I kind of point to Briles a little bit.